and welcome to Sports Authority Field at Mile High from the 89th annual Rocky Mountain Showdown. I'm Matt Smith. This is Rich Kurtzman for 5280 Sports Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, Rich, 3 years in a row now that Colorado has come out victorious, but a little different than it went last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But we thought, the way that the game started, it might have that kind of same effect.
Yeah, the way it started out, CU came out executing on offense extremely well. They came out fast, and we thought, okay, Montez has a really good grip on this offense already. And then just something stopped. The whole game just paused. About midway through that second quarter, something just stopped. And penalties were a huge factor.
Oh, definitely.
But after the score got to 17-3 in the first half at halftime, nobody scored again. No points scored in the second half of this game. Was very strange and an eerie feeling. Actually, one of our colleagues, Justin Michael, after the game, I thought summed things up very well, that maybe this wasn't a game that everyone expected CSU to win, but they didn't expect them to lose in the fashion that they did tonight.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of penalties, Rich. What was it, 10 for almost
10
120
penalties,
yards?
120 yards on Colorado State Rams. Some of those were legitimate. Obviously, the hands to the face penalty was really difficult. It came at the end of a touchdown pass from Nick Stevens to Olabisi Johnson. No, it was Warren Jackson, I believe. It erased that touchdown, whoever it was, too. There were the other ones, though, the 3 offensive pass interference penalties, those were absolute killers. The first one on BC Johnson, it looked to me like he extended his arm like it was a legitimate penalty. The other 2, the one with Dietrich Clark where he went up, jumped in the corner of the end zone, pulled down the ball, and they called offensive pass interference. You and I even looked at each other and thought, that could be defensive pass interference. No, it was called offensive pass interference. Then came that hands to the face penalty. It was like every time Colorado State had something positive happen, it was taken away by the refs. It was taken away by a penalty. Their momentum was just crushed, and yet they were able to hold on and stay in this game because of CU's definite conservativeness on offense and CSU's fight on defense.
Absolutely, and CSU's fight on defense was a huge reason why this game was close. Montez and McIntyre saying in the postgame, McIntyre specifically saying that he kept telling us that this CSU defense was better. I mean, he'd watched tape of the way they progressed through the end of last season. That was a team that improved. You were telling me just the amount, the sheer volume of points they've scored on offense compared to what they showed tonight in the last 5-6 games was staggering. So it was a very strange game, but the truth is the better team probably won.
Oh yeah.
But what was impressive was the step up that we saw from the CSU program, considering the level that Colorado has gotten to now with recruiting and frankly the talent that they have on the field. I've been saying this all week that I thought CU was going to win this game pretty easily, Rich. I thought that before the game I predicted a 14-point margin, and that's what it was. However, I didn't think they would only score 17 points.
Right.
That was something that completely took me off guard, and I think everyone off guard.
And I mean, every time you think that something's going to happen, we all thought it was going to be a blowout, or I mean, a high-scoring game, a shootout, excuse me, not a blowout. We thought it would be a close shootout with a ton of points scored. And that is exactly opposite of what we actually saw happen. And you made a great point. I think we see the improvement in Colorado State's program overall. They're taking incremental steps forward. The amount of talent is there that has been increasing over time with Mike Bobo. Before with McElwain, and now even with Mike Bobo, they've taken another step forward. But with CU, they're at another level than CSU.
They are,
they simply are.
And I think the best example of that is the fact that they lost so many consistent contributors last year, yet still were able to put a defense on the field tonight that held CSU to 3 points with or without penalties. That is a step that this program has made that it's really been over the last year. Those expectations, it was a strange feeling. CU won by 14 points, but I never have seen a CU team seem somewhat dissatisfied by a 14-point win in the Rocky Mountain Showdown. Just to, the times are changing. They are changing, Rich. And I think for the CU defense, it was a huge step up. CSU scored 58 points last week against a Power 5 team. Yes, it's Oregon State, and they don't have the type of athletes that CU has.
That was evident.
That was very clear tonight. But the fact that Colorado could come in and have so much youth. Trey Udofia at cornerback had a really rough first half. Burned several times, and actually several times, especially one of those offensive pass interference calls, very, very questionable.
They were picking on him.
They were.
And CU was picking on Hawkins, and it was going back and forth.
Absolutely. And that's really funny because McIntyre in the post-game press conference mentioned even Udofia knew that, okay, they're throwing at number 8, they're throwing at me. That's what's going to happen. But credit to him for bouncing back. He actually had an interception at the end of the game, which was good. And the rest of CU's defense, Jacob Collier, true freshman from California at outside linebacker, I thought was flashed some real signs of brilliance tonight.
Definitely.
And Derek McCartney, good return. Afolabi Laguda and Isaiah Oliver and Michael Gallup, I thought was the matchup that was as advertised.
That was the show.
Yeah, it was the game within the game.
Yeah, and I mean, we asked Michael Gallup about his battle with Oliver. He said, I got him a couple times, he got me a couple times. It was a battle. I mean, those guys are going to go to the league, likely.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We saw top-notch play between both of them. One thing that I did see out of Michael Gallup, I asked Mike Bobo after the game. Dating back to last year, they had 5 straight games of 40 or more points in a game. They only had 3 points today. Bobo said himself that a lot of the receivers actually missed their assignments. They didn't run the right routes. But I asked him what were there actually missed opportunities. One of them that sticks out in my mind was that deep ball from Stevens to Gallup. Gallup had to lay out, and he did.
Second half.
Put his hands.
Second half.
Yeah, it was in the second half, right?
Yeah.
And he dove out. He got his hands on the ball, but he wasn't able to reel it in. Those were the kind of missed opportunities. That one, Nick Stevens, early in the first half, they have a 13-yard pass on 3rd and 13 that he throws just a slight bit too high to Cameron Butler on the 1-yard line. If they complete that, they can possibly score on the next play, and that could completely change the entire look of the game. So Colorado State just missed a ton of opportunities on offense. It wasn't just about the penalties, although the penalties are obviously the name of the game for this game.
Yeah.
But you, again, have to give credit to CU. They were the better team, they had the better athletes, and they won.
Yeah, for me, I think the expectations I had of CU coming into this game were somewhat similar to what we saw, especially at the outset. We saw a team that was going to play high tempo, up pace, but then we saw a team that struggled with a little bit of their inexperience.
Right.
The one thing that Phil Lindsay said after the game, who had an outstanding game, that first drive where they hit a bunch of quick chunk yardage plays in through the air to set up the ground attack right up the middle. Phil almost nearly untouched. I think something like 45 yards for a touchdown. And I thought that play was really indicative, that series rather, was really indicative of what we should see from the Buffs this year. I think more of what this offense could look like. Obviously, I think that this team is slightly disappointed in the fact that they didn't score more points, but you can't, a win's a win in major college sports, especially in a game like this. And I think for CU, it's a good step because they've got Texas State and Northern Colorado next. Those are 2 teams that maybe don't provide as much competition before Washington, but I really think that this was it was almost better that they didn't come in and have a great performance because now there's plenty to work on this week in film. This team will get better. For Colorado State, I guess from your perspective, I know you expected them to play stronger because we spoke about it on the podcast, but I guess, do you take anything from this game moving forward?
They just missed a ton of opportunities. Nick Stevens came out. He was really tight in the first half. They finally started getting things together in the second half. I think the biggest positive for the CSU team is the defense. I mean, they were able to limit this offense with a ton of playmakers up and down to only 17 points and no points in the second half. I think that's something that they can hang their hat on and move forward and look at that as, a learning experience on the offense, that they're missing opportunities on defense. If they can play this well against teams in the Mountain West, they're going to limit them to very low scoring numbers.
For another year, Mike Bobo has to sit with another loss to Colorado.
3 straight.
Just eating at him. That's got to eat at him.
He said it's going to stick in his craw.
It's sticking his craw.
And I love him because he's that Southern kind of guy. So
yeah, it's nice, kind of, maybe not as upfront in your face as you expect it to be. But CU comes out victorious 17-3, a solid start for the Buffs, and another, I'd like to say another good edition of the Rocky Mountain Showdown, but certainly more controversial than the last few. I am Matt Smith. This is Rich Kurtzman for 5280 Sports Network. Thank you so much for tuning in from Sports Authority Field at Mile High.
Thanks, everybody.